Hi, I'm Andrew Listen,
I'm Andrew Hart.
and this is the Mumbly Hour. Hello,
Hello.
how you doing?
Oh, how am I doing? I'm doing terribly. Should I fill the listeners in on what happened?
I stopped reading your tweets after you talked about vomiting all over the bathroom, so I don't think anyone else needs to be witness to or needs to see any of that. So it's been a big day.
I don't know if it has been a big day.
It's been a big day for me
Oh, right, why?
because my day has I've been on an emotional roller coaster today.
Mm-hmm.
Starting my day with a horrible video that was sent to me by somebody who I'm no longer an acquaintance of a puppy being fed to a snake, which has scarred me emotionally.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It was just the innocence in the eyes of the little puppy when the snake was going up to its face, and it was just like, oh, hello friend, hello. And then there was a strike, and it was all over. And it was horrible because it was captioned, "This is so cute."
Oh, right.
And that person is a fucking monster.
Yeah. So, have you unfriended the person that posted it on Facebook?
I have blocked everybody and reported for offensive material. Everybody who I have seen share this video
Okay, good.
because it makes me sad.
And then what happened with your day?
Oh, and then I just went to work. But it's the 10th birthday of Twitter today.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. Everyone's been posting all this stuff about their first tweet.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I should say about it.
Your first tweet was just about your Twitter handle. I had a little look.
Oh, right.
I had a look at everybody's.
Wait,
I just had
how
a
do you see people's first tweet?
Twitter put up a page. It's on like discover.twitter.com.
Okay.
I'll put a link in the show notes to you can find the show notes at mumblyhour.com/10. Are we at 10?
I think so. Just like Twitter.
Exactly. And somebody else has a big birthday coming up. It's Apple's 10th birthday. No, 40th birthday.
40th, yeah. I think my second ever tweet was, this Dropbox thing looks like it might be good.
Yes, discover.twitter.com/first-tweet.
I think my first tweet's quite good. I think I've seen worse ones. I've seen much more clueless ones. I think mine's quite a sort of, I'm quite happy with that. What was your first tweet?
My first tweet is an insight into my entire life because it says, I'm sitting at work avoiding rebuilding websites, which is what I was doing when I was looking at my first tweet because it was what I was meant to be doing today. And instead, I was faffing about on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, it's been 8 years. Nothing has changed. There was an Apple event today.
Yeah, keynote day. So I had a single note that I made going into this, which is, will Tim Cook mention the FBI thing? Which I really didn't think he would. I just thought it was the type of thing that they just wouldn't mention. But
yeah, I was unsure if they would as well, because the hearing's tomorrow. I thought that it's maybe either a bit close, or there might be some, I don't know if there'd be some legal thing about them discussing things. But right off the bat, he wasted no time.
Yeah, he didn't say much in depth. He just put down the principle and said, this is where we stand, and this is what we're standing for, and this is why, and then they moved on. I think they just wanted to get it out of the way. I think they know that a lot of the press people are sitting there waiting for him to say something. So they're like, let's just say a thing, get it out the way, and then that's it. They also had a slide with a picture in it quite clearly, but they kept zoomed in on him, so I couldn't see what that was.
I thought it was very interestingly structured, the event today, because that thing that they did, like when he first came on, it was within about 2 minutes that he addressed the FBI thing. He said, we make these things for you, you're our customers, we act in your best interest, sort of thing. And then the next sort of 5 or 10 minutes of the presentation was them reiterating that and saying, our core principles are X, Y, and Z, and they went through everything that they do, that they position that they think that they can only do that at their scale to try and make the world a better place for everybody else. And it's sort of I thought it was quite interesting because they could have just brushed past it and gone, we said what we were going to say, but they made a point of sort of forcing home what their mission is to sort of make the world a better place, whether that was in like renewable energy or, well, I thought they might have touched on education, but they did like their health kit stuff and talked about research kit and all the impacts they're making in medicine, and I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah, that seems to be a thing that they used to do more in the past. I can't really remember them touching on that sort of stuff so much recently.
Well, they put out an energy statement, energy report every year, and research kit's quite new, is it not?
Yeah, and Jeff Williams is probably his second time on stage to do that exact thing. His first time was to introduce the research kit, and this time was to provide the update with, I think, what they call it, health kit or something.
Care kit. Health kit is different.
So health kit was the thing that, or research kit he announced last time, probably in part with health kit, and then research kit is the one that they announced today.
Yeah, so health kit's more user facing, where users can get apps to help them look after themselves, and research kit is more for sort of universities and stuff to carry out research with patients and different medical institutions to try to like better their research by like integrating the devices with the care that they have with the patients and stuff.
Yeah, and they had the bit today also about the environment and how they're helping. I was quite impressed with all of the solar panel and renewable energy stuff. I think what they were, so they were saying that we are like 91% powered by renewable energy, but it's difficult. And so in China they're 100%, and in Singapore they're 100%. But it's difficult to, if you're in a shopping mall, for example, to say, okay, we're going off the grid and we're going to power our thing totally separately, and we're going to run all of the infrastructure we need to get our store to be run from these solar panels. So I think instead of doing that, what they actually mean that they're doing is they figure out how much they're using, and then they set up solar panels which are the equivalent of that energy. So while they might be using energy off the normal grid, they are contributing back that same amount of energy. I think that is what they were getting at there.
I think their global operations are like, they can massively outweigh the retail stores. Like the energy used to run the retail stores probably is quite a small fraction of what they actually, because they've only got a couple of hundred stores, do they not?
Yeah,
or a couple of thousand. So I think that like the environmental impact of the raw materials that they buy, the factories that they run, or the factories that they use to make their products far outweigh the retail stores. And I think that's and like also shipping and stuff. I think that's a much greater impact, and that's probably where they're focusing their efforts, because shipping hundreds of millions of devices is like, and the cardboard they use and the plastics they use and the metals they use in the products are probably the production of that probably contributes a huge amount more than powering the stores.
Yeah.
But they do a report. They're very open about it. I'll put a link to the report in the show notes because I don't have it at hand, but I know that they do it. It's in like Apple Values or something like that.
So much as I thought this entire segment went on way too long, I did like the little video they put together with Liam the robot that they've made.
Oh, he was well killed.
Yeah. It was a cute robot, and I feel like you could check in on him in the year 3654, and he would, like, you could just poke your head into his little factory and he would still be there working away on his iPhones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a funny tweet saying Liam is another great Apple hire. He's expected to become fully sentient around 2018.
There you go.
It's apple.com/environment is where they do the report. And they've got like their current year report is what's on that page, and at the bottom it's got like 2014 and 2013 and goes back. And it goes through what they do and what they mean by the numbers that they post.
Cool.
So it's cool. You should go and read that. It's got some cool pictures of some solar arrays.
Cool. Also in the update section were the Apple Watch updates.
Alright, so this is moving past the operational things. So they had the name of the woman, I can't remember, who came up
Lisa.
And talked about the environment. And then the research kit, did you say it's Jeff Williams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Came up to do research kit and care kit, and then Tim came out and they started talking about products as opposed to operational things, and they started with Apple Watch.
Yeah. So Apple Watch is now cheaper, a bit cheaper. They didn't actually say what the price drop is, but it's a bit cheaper now.
Well, it's $299 from $349, so it's a $50 price drop.
Okay, but in the UK that could be the equivalent of like £5 because that's how Apple does things, unfortunately.
Well, they're not going to go through. This is what the price drop is in every country that we operate in.
Yeah, but yeah. So Apple Watch is a little bit cheaper. The bands are the same price, which I guess works out quite well because it means that if people are buying multiple bands, they can make more money there. They have some new bands, which I was waiting to see because I'm in the market for a new Apple Watch band. I want one. I want one of the rubber ones. What are they called?
The polyurethane sport bands.
Yes. Yeah, I want one of those ones because of like treadmill and stuff. Because I've got a
treadmill.
Yeah, because I've got a Milanese loop, and it's great except that it just gets all sweaty and stuff when you run with it on, and that's not good. So I'm gonna get one of the sport ones. Don't know whether I will. I don't know whether the releases today affect anything. I don't think I'm gonna go for any of the new colors, but they've got quite a few now. If you look on the page I already linked you, and some of them are really similar to each other, like the pink one and the one which is also basically pink but a different name, or like so similar. I would like if you send somebody into the store to buy it and they bought the wrong one, you might not even notice that they'd bought the wrong one. Like they're so similar. But I don't think I'm going to go for pink. I might do because it's a nice pink. It's one of my favorite colors, but I also quite like the blue one. That is kind of famous for being the color of the cases on the iPads. So anyway,
I like the material ones, the woven ones. I thought they looked quite cool.
Oh, I didn't like those.
The Apple Watch Sport in the UK is now £259. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like 300 quid or something. It was here, but it's now 259.
So do you think you might consider getting one now?
No, I'm going to wait until Rev 2. I was more interested in the iPads, but I'm really wanting a MacBook Pro, but we will get to these things. Yeah. But I think it's good that they keep bringing out these new bands because it's important. It's been pushed as a fashion product. Like at the product launch, they had people from Vogue and all these crazy fashion magazines that I do not know off the top of my head because I don't follow them. But and fashion updates seasonally, so they need to constantly be putting out these bands, and it's fine because they can just take advantage of how easy they are to swap out. Like with that catch, it's something that most watches don't really have. Like if I were to go and try and find new bands for my watch, I've got a mechanical watch, it probably wouldn't be as straightforward. But I think that I think it's good that they keep pushing new bands. It keeps interest in the Apple Watch because it's almost like putting a new shiny face on it because, well, the product looks is like still the same, like the little black square is still the same. You can dress it up differently, so every couple of months it looks a little bit fresher because they've come out with something new. It's the same like these partnerships with the Hermes band that they did in the fall announcement as well.
Yeah,
and they have different clasps and stuff too, and I think they're quite smart.
Somebody pointed out on Twitter that they thought that it's great that they're releasing new bands, but what it really needs is better hardware and better software.
But that'll come.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's good that they're dropping the price because it is still essentially a $300 notification machine. It is still an iPhone accessory, so I think it's good that they're dropping the price. But I saw somebody tweet during the event that you don't drop, like whilst they talked about how happy they are with the sales. They say if you're truly happy with the sales at the price point that you're at, you wouldn't drop the price. But maybe it's just in anticipation of the next one coming out. But
that's true.
But I don't see them if they're selling happily the way that they want them to at this point. Then I don't get the advantage of dropping the price because that's just money out of their pocket. Like they're just leaving money on the table at that point. So I think it is a bit of a tough sell at $350 or £300 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because it is just an iPhone accessory, and try and find an iPhone accessory that is that expensive.
Yeah, people are gonna really have to want one in order for you to sell to them. I mean, if it was a Christmas present or something or whatever, Like, I can imagine a lot of people just going, no, that's too much. I kind of want one, but that price point is too much. So maybe dropping it a bit would help. That it's still not a massive drop. One of the bands that they released is because I was looking on the Fluo Master things, whatever the sport
What?
the sport band, the Fluo Flaster Master thing. The yellow, the first one that shows the yellow one, and it's disgusting. Like, it offends my eyes just to see it.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
It's like Pikachu coloured.
it's sick coloured.
Yellow, I think, is quite a divisive colour. Some people love and hate yellow. You have to be a certain person to pull off yellow. I'm not the sort of person that can pull off many colours. I just sort of wear a small section of clothes and just sort of hope that nobody sees me when I'm outside. But I don't think it looks that bad. I think the apricot one, apricot,
That's the one I like.
is strikingly similar to the color of the 5C. You know the pink 5C they put out.
Yeah.
I do not like that color at all. I think it looks silly. I'd be interested to find out if they make more money off the straps than the watch. Like, how many people buy more than one strap? Because I imagine the profit margins on the straps are ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because they're essentially just like Apple accessories, and Apple's accessories are horrifically overpriced. Well, not overpriced, but they are. They're horrifically overpriced. Yeah, it's £129 for the classic buckle leather strap. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after the Apple Watch, a product that we've spoken about for 10 minutes now that I do not own, but I have many opinions, many thoughts. Here we can move on to another product that I do not own, the Apple TV.
Oh.
So they just basically talked about the new update for the Apple TV. So it's going to have new Siri stuff. So Siri's going to be able to explore more applications. So you can search for content in more apps, and that's going to grow as time goes on. There was like some Disney ones and like Hulu and HBO and the sports channel apps that they've got, and then there's some you'll be able to sort them into folders because application management is a mess on iOS, and that seems to be the only thing they can think to do. They introduced folders in iOS 4.
Yeah.
When they introduced multitasking, and it is still around, and it's still the best way to manage applications on an iOS device. And then Siri is coming for the App Store and some other areas, and then you can do dictation for text entry because apparently the input on the remote is dreadful. The sigh that you just put out there means that I imagine you probably agree with that.
Yeah, so right, okay, so I use the Apple TV quite a lot, and I think Siri on the Apple TV absolutely sucks. And the voice recognition is fine, like it recognizes what I say every time. The problem is that doing anything with it, quite often it doesn't do most of the things that the phone does, which, okay, that's a decision they've made. So it won't set an alarm, for example. But I think that it probably doesn't have integration right now with Netflix or something, because if I go into Netflix and I go up to the search bar and I've now got the search bar selected and I'm typing in using the trackpad thing, and then I decide, actually, you know what? Instead of typing, I'm just gonna search for Dexter or something. So I'm gonna say Dexter, and then it's gonna say, oh, Dexter not found or something like that. It just never seems to work. Or no, this is it. Sorry, this example is wrong. Okay, so if you do that, I think that what would happen is that it would take you into the Movies app, where it would give you the choice between Netflix or Amazon, or not Amazon, Netflix or the Movies app or whatever, to watch Dexter. But if you go into the App Store app and you start searching at the top, so I go into the App Store app and I select the bar at the top and I say YouTube, and it goes YouTube not found. And then I just start typing YouTube, and lo and behold, there's YouTube right there. It's just really frustrating. It's like, how could you not understand that what I was trying to do was to search for YouTube?
Well, that's partly what they're trying to improve with the update that they announced today, is to improve how Siri integrates with the applications that are installed on the device, and how it picks between them. I think that's what they were trying to say that it improves.
Yeah.
So
And
hopefully they'll address some of that.
with the folders thing, I'm not so sure it's needed. I mean, in my experience, I haven't got too many apps because
Yeah, but you don't have like kids and stuff. Like if kids are start playing games and you're like, so say like a traditional family, like I would if I used to have an Apple TV, and I gave it away for various reasons, and I will get the new one shortly. But things like if you've got various subscriptions to various TV channels, and then you play some games and you have some kids channel, you might want to organize them because like scrolling that's probably going to get quite cumbersome quite quickly. You would think. So if you could organize them into like this is my kid's stuff, or if you have a partner, you'd be like this is my partner's stuff and this is mine, or like if you want to like this is all my sports stuff. So like I really want to watch the basketball games that are coming up at the moment.
I guess, but a lot of the streaming options are the same. So like the whole family will have Netflix, and that'll just be a single app still. It's not like you're gonna have like duplicates of the same app.
No, but there's loads of different types of streaming apps. So like there's half a dozen Disney Kids apps, and there's HBO, Netflix. It's almost beginning to become like channels where there are like multiple types of. It's not you don't just have Netflix. You may have Netflix and Amazon Prime if it were ever to come to the platform, and HBO and ABC and Hulu and movies and the iTunes Store and Apple Music and Spotify or whatever. So these like you might want to begin to categorize them because you won't just have Netflix. You might have Netflix plus some others.
Well, yeah. So this new update will be interesting to see how it feels. So yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's a massive deal, but it'll be interesting. I thought they were going to release a remote app update as well. That would mean that you could control it from there, which they announced on the talk show, or they talked about it at least on the talk show. But they had no mention of it today, so we'll see if that comes.
Yeah, I don't know when they're going to release that. It'll probably just come out when it's ready.
One of the problems I've had a lot is typing in usernames and passwords, particularly because right now I'm working on an Apple TV app which requires login and stuff, and having to test when you're testing that, having to log in and out, you really start to realize how annoying it is to have to type in the username and the password every time. So it would be a delight if I could do that from a remote app.
They're bringing in dictation for text entry and passwords with this update too.
Oh, okay. That could be cool. That could work.
The next thing that they brought up, which was previously reported in 9to5 Mac's summary of this event last week, which was the new iPhone, the new old iPhone,
Yeah,
the new iPhone.
Yeah, when they introduced it on that slide, did you see the really weird animation they had?
I don't think I was paying that much attention.
All right, it was just weird. It kind of jumped out and it kind of rotated itself, and it was weird. My feelings on this new iPhone are that it looks exactly the same as the 5S, and I'm a bit disappointed because I'd heard rumors of like a redesign where it would both have the sort of the 5S look, but would also have the curved edges to be more like a 6, like a 4-inch version of a 6. And I was really interested to see that and what it might look like. And I thought that would make a nice little complete lineup. But that's not the case. That's not what they did. And maybe that. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I am really happy that that's not what they did.
Why?
Because the 5S is my favorite phone that they've produced. I think it's so much nicer to hold than the 6. I had the 5 and the 5S, and I didn't put a case on either of them. And I have to have a case on the 6 because it's so slippery to hold. Because I don't like the curved edges. I much prefer the sort of sharper, squarer edges on the 5S. I think it looks a lot nicer. Like I think it's physically, like the design of it is far prettier to look at.
With the chamfered edges.
Yeah, although now it's a matte chamfer edge, but to be honest, after a couple of months of use, like you buff that out a little bit anyway. But I'm super happy that they did that. Like, if I was on the market for a phone, which I don't think I am, I would love to buy this. I would buy this over the 6S.
So this is basically a 5S with upgraded internals,
Yeah,
rebranded.
it's it pretty much, they've got like the 6S processor, the same graphics. It doesn't have Touch ID too, so it's still got the same Touch ID that the 5S had. It's got the updated camera and stuff, so it's pretty cool, and it's cheap as well.
Hmm.
So it's only $400 to buy outright. So if I were to buy the 64GB version of this, as opposed to what I have at the moment, which is a 6S 64GB, it would save me about £200.
Cool.
Which I think is quite a big deal.
Yeah.
For essentially the same internals for a phone, it's just the size that's different. The size and a couple of bits and pieces.
Yeah, I wonder how it'll help them internationally as well with poor markets and stuff like that. I wonder if this is them reaching out and trying to get people who don't want to spend so much money on an iPhone.
Well, I was surprised when they said because they announced how many sales they've had of the 4-inch iPhone. Like I had a small altercation with somebody on Twitter today who was like, "Oh, who wants a 4-inch iPhone?" I was like, "Well, they sold 30 million of them last year," and I went, "Well, they won't sell loads of these." And I was like, "Well, they've essentially taken that phone they sold 30 million of last year and completely changed the innards of it and made it, instead of a year-old out-of-date device, a completely up-to-date competitive device. So the internals of that phone compete with most other phones on the market." And so why, like, if they sold 30 million of the 4-inch iPhones last year, why are they going to sell less of them this year? They'd probably just spur people on to buy them. Why do you think they've called it the SE?
I don't know. Small edition?
It screams special edition, right? But there's nothing really special about it. It should, but you can't really call it the iPhone 6 mini. You can't call it the 5S SE. Like, I don't really know what you can do with it. Like, their branding is a bit of a mess. Like, you get to that when you get to the iPads, but the branding of their products, like, now, like, it was never really a problem in the past with the Macs because the naming didn't really need to change. Like, a MacBook Pro is a MacBook Pro. All that changed was the year that they released it. So it was like late 2013, mid 2012 or whatever. But the product stayed the same, even when they redesigned it. Like, when they went from the plastic MacBooks to the unibody MacBooks, it was still called a MacBook. And then they changed the names of the Power Macs to MacBook Pros when they changed from the Power PCs to Intel computers, but to the Intel CPUs. But apart from that, they don't change the names of the products. But with the iOS devices, they do. And even with the iPods, they didn't. The iPod Nano was an iPod Nano, an iPod Mini was an iPod Mini, and that was what they called it. But that's not what they seem to have done with iOS devices.
Yeah, they just have some strange issue with the branding on the iPhones, where they add the S on, and then they're like, okay, we don't really know what the S stands for. We never really knew. Okay, what are we going to call the new one? Let's call it the SE. I don't know. It's just it doesn't follow any logical pattern.
No, and it's annoyingly inconsistent to me because of how they did it with the 4. Because the iPhone 4 was the 4th generation of iPhone. It went iPhone 3G, iPhone 3GS, and iPhone 4, where the S and the 3G stood for speed. But people were like, people that I normally have this argument with think that the 3G was the 3rd model, but the 3G was just the next generation of the original because it had a 3G radio, but because it's got 3 in the name, it's confusing. And then 3GS was where they bumped the RAM and the CPU. I think they put it, was it to 512 megabytes or to 256? I think it was maybe to 250. I can't remember. And then the 4, they were like, this is the 4th iPhone. And then they did the 4S, where the S stood for Siri. And then the 5, which was the 6th iPhone, which made me sad. And the iPhone 6, which is the 8th iPhone, which makes me more sad. But I don't know what the S was for the 5S, because Touch ID and Apple Pay do not start with S. And the 6S had 3D touch or Force Touch, depending on what device you're using it on. But yeah, no, I don't really understand the naming, because they do. It gets like, if you want to move on to the iPads, or do you want to talk about 9.3 for a little bit? Because 9.3 came next.
Well, I was going to say that I went on to the new iPhone SE. What's it called? Is it just iPhone SE or is it iPhone 5 SE?
It's just SE.
All right. I went onto the product page, and it's a bit weird to go down because it's as if Apple has convinced us to all sit and peruse the product page of the iPhone 5S, just going down and seeing all the screenshots again of what a 5S looks like. It's really weird to see to see this as a new page, because it's I don't know, it just seems really weird.
They've just bumped the numbers.
Yeah, but it just because all of the images are you know how they have the pictures of the device at all its different angles, and with all of the features listed out like Siri and everything like that, it feels like they've just brought back a page from a few years ago and they've stuck it on their homepage and went, look at this today. And here we all are sitting looking at this page, which they could have...
I mean, it works. You're looking at it.
Yeah. So 9.3. So I really want to see the screen coloring thing. Night mode. Yeah, which isn't anything new. I tried it on Mac years and years ago with Flux. But I'm interested to see, because everyone recommends it and says that it's really good. So
I don't think they claim that it's new. I use Flux. Flux is active at the moment on my computer.
Let's turn this on until 7 a.m. Is it? Cool. Yeah, it turns my phone on orange. Awesome. All right.
My update was fucking massive, and I don't understand it because I was running the betas, and the update from the beta of 9.3 to the public release was 1.5 gigabytes, but the release from 9.2 to 9.3, or whatever, what was the previous version? Was it 9.2?
Don't know.
Whatever it was that you were running prior to that was only 300 megabytes, you tell me.
Yeah, something like that, really small. So, what was next?
The iPads.
The iPad.
The iPad Pro.
Yeah, I wasn't too bothered about it because I haven't been too interested in the iPads or the iPad Pro. But yeah, there's a 10-inch one, which I guess makes a lot of sense now.
I'm going to try and look, I'm going to compare the specs for the iPad 2, the iPad Air 2, which it doesn't even replace the 9.7-inch iPad Air 2 is still for sale.
Yeah, which I found a bit confusing because I thought, okay, people are going to have real dilemmas here about which one to buy.
So the iPad Air 2 to buy comes for £349, which would be $399 will be $400, and the iPad Pro 9.7-inch is £500. So it's a price increase of £150, which is quite significant.
And what are the differences in the features?
Let's see. The weights are exactly the same. It's got a different display, that whatever it's called, that True Tone display, with which will change the coloring on the display depending on its surrounding, which is pretty cool. Even the 12.9-inch iPad Pro doesn't have that, which screams like that's something that's going to be coming to the iPhone this year.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see in person and see how it works.
Yeah,
because I don't think it was as easy to sell. They didn't it wasn't something that I was like, oh my god, that's so obvious. But the fact that they were like, this is a really big deal, and we think once you try it, you're going to see it, and it seemed like this is an area that they are really going to be putting emphasis on in future products.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the Retina MacBooks and the Retina MacBook Pros and the Retina iMac. It's not something you can really get across with a picture. Like, I think the way that they sold the iMac when it came out was they had the background with a little person in the screen, and they zoomed in and you could see the person really high quality. But that screen, you couldn't really tell how great it was until you were in front of one. And it was the same with the Retina displays. It's hard to get from a press release how game-changing improvements to the display can be. And I think that's something that's going to be the same for this. My big bugbear to this, so I really I do need a new iPad because I've got the original iPad Air that came out a few years ago. And when looking at the specs for this, they upgraded the camera. So it's got a faster aperture than all the other iPads. It's got a higher megapixel count than all the other iPads with a 12 megapixel camera. But it suffers from the same problem as the iPhone 6S and 6 with its camera bump.
Yeah, but this device, if you're using it to draw or anything, a lot of people are going to use it on a flat surface. Yep. And a lot of people have been saying this this is a massive problem.
It is. It's a huge problem. Like, it's because there's a couple of people that I follow on Twitter who have an iPad Pro and they draw in it and they create some incredible things. And it now pretty much means that you're going to have a case for this, because otherwise you can't get it flat on a surface unless you put it at an angle on like an easel or something.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of it being so thin. You can have it so thin, but basically if you want to use it properly, you're going to have to buy a case because of what's happened as a result of being so thin.
Well, it's the exact same with the iPhone. Like, we made it so thin that the camera sticks out the back. And you're like, well, you could have made it a tiny little bit thicker, put a buttload more battery in it. It'd be a bit heavier when you do that, though. Significantly heavier if you do that, though. The other option would be that they just didn't upgrade the camera. But if this is a product that's going to exist for the next 2 years, then that camera's got to stay competitive for the next 2 years. So maybe they chose that, but I don't know.
I don't know why they keep doing this, because everyone hates the camera sticking out the back. It's the first thing that you look at. It's the first thing that you say, this is a design issue. I don't know why they keep doing it.
I mean,
it's as if they're doing it on purpose just so they can laugh at all of us.
Well, yeah, okay. But if you think of the trade-offs for it, so you get the 4K video recording, which is pretty cool for people who want to record 4K on a 10-inch device. But they now have, like, the SKUs of this device are kind of crazy. So they have 4 models of this, and then 3 models of all the others. So they currently sell 5 different types of iPad. They have the iPad Mini 2, the iPad Mini 4, the iPad Air 2, the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, and the 12.9-inch iPad Pro.
Yikes.
And each of those comes in multiple colors. So that's 60. So they sell 16 different SKUs of the iPad now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nuts. Not 60. No, it's not. It's 15 because they only do silver and black for silver and space gray. Sorry, for the iPad Mini 2. So it's 15. But 15 is still a lot, considering it started with 1.
Yeah, I know. I think they displayed them all back to back on the stage. And in one of the slides, and yeah, you could see it's like, okay, they have or it might have been iPhones, but whichever one, it's like they have an awful lot of these. And you're right. You think they started with just one of these, and they used to say, "Oh, we just have one," and now look.
But
now look what's happened.
Oh, but it's even more because you get the different capacities as well. So it's 15 normal, and then you get Wi-Fi and you get cellular, so that's 30. And then there's a minimum of 2 different types of capacity of each one, so that's 60.
Let's not even talk about the Apple Watch.
But the selling point of the Apple Watch is that it's so personal that you want to get something that you want, and but you only buy one of these. Yeah, the Apple Watch is different because you buy the one device and you buy a bunch of pretty stuff that makes it look nice. But with this, you only have the one. So if you're a person going into a store, and you're like, I want an iPad, and they're like, okay, do you want a little one, or do you want a big one, or do you want a bigger one? And if you say you want a little one, there's 2 different types, and you'll pick one, and they'll say, right, do you want Wi-Fi or do you want cellular? And then do you want 16 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, or 128 gigabytes? And then the same goes for the 9.7 inch, and then the 12.9 inch is just like, well, how much money do you have to spend? Because these things now go from the entry level iPad Mini 2 is like £200 to buy, and so it's like $250. And then now the 256 gigabyte iPad Pro was what, $1,100? It's incredible. Like it's a huge amount of money, and it's a huge difference. Yeah. It's a difference of $1,000 depending on what one you want to buy, and they're getting a lot of grief because of falling iPad sales, but you can kind of see it. So it's $1,029 for the Wi-Fi plus cellular 256 gigabyte iPad Pro. No, it's not. Sorry, it's $1,229.
Why are they selling an iPad Mini 2 and an iPad Mini 4? What's the difference between those two?
The Retina display, Touch ID, and stuff like that. So the iPad Mini 4 is essentially an iPad Air 2 internals.
Okay.
But the like with the same camera, it's got Touch ID, things like that. And
it's a messy lineup in total, basically.
It is. And like the naming are mad too. So you've got 2, 4, 2, 9.7, 12.9. Like the numbering is just insane.
Alright, cool. Let's move on. Let's move on to the final part of the keynote, which finally came after the iPads, which was nothing.
which is what didn't happen.
What didn't happen? Yeah.
Max.
I was really hoping for one more thing this time because we were only an hour in, right? I looked it up on Quotes. Apparently, the average length of a keynote is 88 minutes long. And so we arrived at the 1 hour mark and we did 30 minutes of the updates and the watch bands and stuff. And then 15 minutes with the iPhone, 15 minutes with the iPad. And then they're like, all right, that's it.
I didn't think it was going to go on any longer because it was an hour. It was bang on an hour. Normally they're 90 minutes or 2 hours or an hour. They're normally quite rounded off. They're never like an hour and 10 minutes or something. So the WWDC keynotes, so if you look at the average overall, that takes in all the different types of events. And the September event is normally quite long because they normally update everything. So they have like iPads and MacBooks, and they used to do iPods and the new phone, and then whatever else they've got coming out. And in the summer, they do all the software features. So they do OS X, iOS, and then a couple of surprises here and there, and they talk about WWDC. So that was normally 2 hours. And the one in September is normally 90 minutes minimum. So these ones are normally an hour or an hour and a half. And when it came, like I was looking at the time when he wrapped up, when he did Tim Cook came out at the end, and I was like, this is bang on an hour. They're done. And that makes me sad.
Yeah. What were you hoping to see?
I wanted Skylake MacBook Pros.
Okay.
And because they're out, maybe Intel aren't shipping them in the volume that Apple require for them to upgrade their notebooks, but the Skylake chips are out, and that's what we need. But it didn't happen.
So maybe it'll happen at Dub. But I'm saying that, but you know, it's March. We've just had an event. We don't really want to wait another 3 months. So it would be nice if it was today. But I was hoping for, I don't know, just new Mac news, really. A new MacBook. I would love to see an update on the MacBook, see how they're doing with that.
On the MacBook One?
Yeah, to see, not updates on, like, sales, just updates on, like, an update to the product to see if they make any changes and stuff. Or MacBook Air.
There was a really telling thing in the ad they had for the iPad Pro, which the last thing that was said was, it's where we believe personal computing is going. And I noted that down because I was like, we should probably take that quite literally.
If you think about the effort that Apple needs to put into making a desktop computer or, you know, like a MacBook or iMac, compared to how much effort it takes to put into something that isn't, then it doesn't really... I feel like the difference there is quite big. Like, to do a desktop operating system, there's quite a lot in there to give people the power of a desktop operating system. There's quite a lot there. But to do innovation on the iPad and stuff, there's a lot less to that, maybe. And so, if you compare the amount of money they're getting from iOS devices, especially the iPhone, compared to the Mac, it's like you can totally see why they would change direction towards the phone, but we all kind of still want them to stay on track and keep making iMacs and stuff.
A lot more of the components in the Macs are out with their control, though. So in like the chips that they use, the GPUs and the CPUs in the iOS devices, they kind of have control over that. They buy a lot of the runs of the flash chips that they put in them, and they're probably a lot more in control of the engineering of that. Where with the MacBooks, and the iMacs and the Mac Pros, where they're entirely dependent on third parties to come forward with graphics processors and CPUs, then it's maybe out with their control, because they might need to make an engineering change because they get a new chipset from Intel. And they don't get that till quite late, so their deadline would have been September, but they don't get it until August, and then maybe the runtime, the runtime, like the lead time that they need to make that work, just doesn't add up. And I think if you look at the vertical stack that they've got in their products, they're a lot more aggressive with the iOS devices, where they, over the years, they've lowered their reliance on third parties over the years by component. So whilst they may still sell out the fabrication of the chips, the design is all done in house. So the engineering resources are on them. So the innovation is dependent on them. But that's not really the case with the desktop class computers. The same with the Mac Pro, with the graphics processors that they put in it and the Xeon chips. They're relying on Intel to come out with them and to make them, to get the yield right that they can bring out new computers. The Mac Mini, there's no excuse for, because that should have been updated years ago. But every year, it gets a little bit less attention.
Sometimes there are surprising things like the Mac Pro, although that was a few years ago. But it's an example of one where you're like, where you kind of think, where the geeks who brought up Apple. We've had this discussion before where people are like, people see themselves as the long-time Apple fans, and there's a feeling of being ignored there. But they do surprise us and bring out things which seem to be more targeted towards us. But yeah, anyway.
I mean, I don't think you can feel like you're owed anything by a company, but...
No, of course not.
A couple of other things I've got noted down was the diversity report. So they had 4 males and 1 female, and 4 white men and 1 non-white person on stage, which isn't quite as good as their other diversity, as the diversity of that they normally have on stage. Like when they did WWDC last year, or I think even the iPhone event last year, the mix was a lot more even. But
I think they had a record of no women on stage ever, or in a really long time. Up until last year, is that correct?
Yeah, but they've started becoming very open about the like. Do you see the executive report that they put out for like all their employees and the breakdown for like race, gender, etc. for all their employees recently?
So, no.
They put out I think it's them, or it was just it was filed maybe. There was a breakdown of engineering, by engineering, retail, executive, and then like location. So it was like Cupertino, Seattle, and Ireland, and different places around the world, and it was broken down by race and gender, the amount of employees that they have, and how they do, like how they stack up against each other. So it's pretty cool. Like I think if you're to round up as a whole, I think that doing things like that and taking the time when you've got this sort of like public platform that they gave themselves today, where they sort of make a point to point out that they're trying to make a difference, and like there's maybe many arguments you could put to counter that. Like they're still a for-profit company, they're still a public company, they still need to sell iPhones in order to do this, but I think it's very interesting how they are telling us how they're allocating their resources, and that they care about things like diversity or things like the environment, and they're like, we're on a massive scale, we're pretty much the biggest company in the world, and we think these things are important, so they're not turning their nose up to problems that we face at a global scale. And I think that sends a pretty good message, because they're a pretty influential company, from even just people like us, but even into other people in like Fortune 500 companies, with the government at the moment, because they've got the FBI hearing tomorrow. So they're a very public company, and I think it's really good that they're trying to drive for progress in society, when you have other people and other companies that try and hold back. I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, it's good. The event actually seemed to have a few different things about showing like, look how good we are, look how responsible we are. And I kind of wonder if that was something to do with the FBI thing, which is currently going on, where they're like, look, we are cleaner than clean. We are doing all of these really good things for the world. We're basically a charity, but not quite.
I think it points out their intentions. So instead of making it seem like they're trying to stay secretive for the sake of being secretive, they're trying to say no just because they don't want to help, is being misconstrued in the media, because there's going to be a lot of people that completely disagree with me, because it's a very divisive thing, but they had some bad headlines come out about them when the FBI thing happened, because it was like, Apple refuses to help take down terrorists, Apple refuses to help the government stop murderers and things, and that's a very hard thing to fight. And I think they did a fantastic job at countering that and saying, our stance is only to help people. And our principles and our morals that our company is built on is to do this. And whether or not people buy that, because I know that a lot of people won't, a lot of people don't, a lot of people think that they see right through that and they think that it's like a false front they put on. I still think that it's important that they do it. Because actions speak louder than words, and while somebody might sit behind a keyboard and say that it's bullshit, they don't care, and they're doing these things anyway, and they go, you can say that if you want, but this is what we think is right, and this is what we're going to do about it. And things like the environmental reports, the research kit, where they can have numbers to back up, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're trying to help the world, and I think it's important that they're doing this.
Yeah, the argument of they're doing it for publicity really annoys me, because you have these stats come out which say 50%, give or take, of people are against Apple doing this and think that they're doing the wrong thing. And it's all good for us to see Tim Cook say something, and we all think, oh, that's a great thing for him to say, and that looks really good because we're already on his side. But if you think about it from the perspective of people who aren't already on that side, and maybe people wouldn't be as sold on it as much as we are. And I think that when the numbers are as close as 50-50, there's no way that a company would go, this would be good for marketing if we put up a stance here. Like, the numbers would have to be way more slanted in the favour of privacy for it to be beneficial for Apple from a marketing perspective. So,
and they didn't have to publicize it either. They could have just done it. They didn't have to write the open letter. They didn't have to do any of this.
Yeah.
And there's been so many security experts that have come. Like, it's funny, you see people on both sides, so you see politicians and stuff say, you just open it up and then you close it again. Simple as that. And you're like, well, it's not as simple as that. That's not really how it works.
There's a great article in Time, I think, about this, which came out last week. And it's got an interview with Tim Cook, and it goes through in detail each of the steps that happened. So the FBI actually worked with Apple privately for a while on it. And then Apple suggested to them that they go over to the bad guy's house and they do the thing with the Wi-Fi backup. And then they said to Apple, will you write some software that will do this passcode thing? And then Apple sat down and had proper discussions with it, long discussions with their staff. And then they went, okay, no, the answer's no. And then the FBI had to therefore do it via a legal route, and the FBI chose to go public with it, where they could have kept it private again, but they decided to go public because they knew it was such a difficult case to defend against. But the reason that Apple fought against it isn't because of this one case, is because they say yes to this, and there'll be so many others. So we'll link to the Time article, and you can read it.
Yeah, the Time article is great. And they've got a full transcript of the interview, and it's pretty cool. But I think the case is tomorrow. So we're recording on the day of the event, which is March 21st. The hearing is tomorrow. We're not going to be talking about the event. We're not going to be talking about the hearing probably until it's all wrapped up. I don't think we should probably talk about it until it's done, and then we can maybe research it properly and then go through it. And then we can maybe go through some of the technical details of like the security implications and how the technology works, and find out what the decision is, and wait and hear what the decision is and talk about it then. Does that sound better?
Yeah.
Cool, we should do that. So we're going to wrap up.
Let's wrap up, yeah. You can do that, because I'm obviously very ill, and we'll just totally ruin it. So
you won't ruin it. You did it. Well, I will do it because you do sound very well. You do sound very ill. You sound on death's door. And
I feel like
I didn't hear from you for like a week, because I did stop reading your tweets because you talked about being sick, and I was not for that. So I didn't hear from you for like a week, so I did think you had died. But it's okay. I had lined up people to take your place this week, but
good.
You resurfaced. Yeah, so next week you're not going to be here because
why not?
Because I'm going to see Batman v Superman in 3 days.
Cool. Who are you doing that episode with?
My much discussed and talked about flatmate.
Cool.
Who has been walking around the flat for the past 3 weeks since...
Dressed as Batman?
Yes, dressed as Batman. and he will be dressed as Batman for this audio thing that we do. So we thought it would add to it. We thought it would add to the impact of the episode.
That'll be good on an audio podcast.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So we're gonna add a little bit of realism to it. You like that line in Die Hard when he was like, "Bit with a gun. This is radio, not TV," and the guy gets shot in the head. I love that film. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about that, and yeah, so he's been walking around the flat going, "Hey, welcome to the podcast," and that's all he has to say so far. Yeah, so I've written down some questions so that he says other things. But
awesome.
Yeah, that'll be all right. And then we should maybe, I think we'll, after next week, because we don't have anything else planned, and this weekend I'm completely swamped. I think that we'll probably stop doing movie reviews and TV reviews for a while. But yeah, so that's it. So if you have any thoughts about the Apple event, you should let us know. You can contact us at mumblyhour@gmail.com. We're on Twitter. We're at mumblyhour. We're on Facebook also, apparently. I didn't post last week's show on Facebook. I should do that. If you want to help out the show, you can rate and review us in iTunes. That's awesome. That really helps. We've had a couple of people rate us recently, so you should go and do that. That'd be great. And subscribe to us, and tell your friends, tell your loved ones. That's it.
All right. Thanks.